Something I've come to understand as I've gotten older is that very few people actually know what's best for you. And the reason for this is because nobody is ever going to know you better than you know yourself. Nobody's going to know your strengths, your weaknesses, your perspectives, your mental framework, your ineptitudes, your stresses, your worries, your insecurities, the demons in your closet, your intentions, your aspirations. Not a single person is going to know those things better than you. And the person that you think knows you the best, whether it's a friend, a family, your mom, your dad, your best friend, your girlfriend, a significant other, even that person, the person that you're closest to, even they're never going to know even a fraction of how well you understand yourself. And the reason why I preface with this is to say that you should take everyone's advice with a grain of salt. Because there's a lot of people out there that are going to tell you a lot of things. And what you gotta understand is that, and this applies to everyone, even me right now, every single person speaks from their own experience. No matter how hard you try to separate yourself, there's always going to be that level of subjectivity. The reality is that other people's advice is always going to be filtered through their mental framework, their experiences, their ambitions, their limiting beliefs or lack thereof, as well as their biases. So if we accept that as a fact, right, and you also take into account that most people do not leave their comfort zones. Most people do not chase their dreams, most people do not try, and most people are molded by the people around them who also have those similar beliefs. And this is something that you always have to keep in mind, whether you're listening to a teacher, a parent, a friend, a student, whatever it might be. And it might not even necessarily be limiting beliefs. It might just be biases that don't necessarily apply to you. For example, right, your parents or our parents, they grew up in a completely different world or time than we do right now. Our parents grew up in a time where cell phones or the internet didn't even exist. And now we live in a world where the internet is basically everything. We live in a world where AI runs everything. Cars can drive from New York to California by itself. So their ideas, their beliefs about certain things and the way the world works, their mental framework was built off a time that does not apply to us. Back then their idea of wealth was work a 9 to 5, put your money in a savings account for a rainy day until you can buy a home, become a homeowner, keep working and save up until you're 65 so you can retire and enjoy your life. For very obvious reasons, a lot of this no longer applies, from the housing market to inflation to the rate in which technology is changing the world. That idea of wealth is gone and out the door. And again, I'm not saying don't listen to anybody, right? Like, let's use a bit of common sense. I'm speaking under the context of major decisions in your life that you're going to make. Whether it's the school or university that you're going to or not going to go, whether it's the skill or trade you get into, whether it's the job you want, the career you want, the passion that you're going to get into, where you decide to move, when you decide to get married, etc. When it comes to all the major life decisions, nobody knows what's best for you in that regard. When the time comes for you to make the most impactful choices of your life, only you know the answer. And it's in those moments in particular where you have to listen to your gut instinct. And to tie this back into dating, since you guys like hearing about that, one of my girlfriends in the past, when we were friends for a good amount of time before I ever made my move, and back then my gut instinct was telling me, I feel like she likes me, but at the same time I wanted confirmation or reassurance. Which, by the way, is why most people ask for advice when it comes to those major choices. It's like, if you really think about it, 9 times out of 10 you know the answer, but you just want that reassurance or validation from someone else to do what you want to do. But yeah, basically I ended up going to one of her close friends and I texted her after a group hangout. And I remember I was like, hey, just let me know straight, does she have any feelings for me? I want to ask her out, but I'm not really sure how she feels. And also I don't want to ruin the friendship and all that crap. And I think I remember exactly what she texted me, but she said something along the lines of, she feels uncomfortable around you, the way you joke around with me, she takes it differently, if that makes sense. So yeah, she doesn't really like you right now, sorry. And when she said that, I was like, damn, I was kind of heartbroken, but I was like, damn, appreciate you for being real. And the same night I was laying in bed, I was feeling all down, but something inside of me was like, I don't know, I feel like there's something there, that's what my gut is telling me. But at the same time, it's like, she's our best friend and she's someone that I know to be trustworthy. If she liked the guy, if she liked me, then she would definitely know about it. So a few weeks go by, I go, F it, screw her best friend, I don't care what she says, I'm gonna follow my gut instinct. So yeah, I just ended up letting her know how I felt, and what a surprise, her best friend's a liar, she felt the same way. And it's funny because every single time I saw that friend after we got together, I never brought it up, but I was like, damn, you really tried to cockblock me. And now that I think about it, a lot of people have tried to cockblock me. From a lot of people that I was supposed to be close to were secretly my ops, apparently. But yeah, every time I saw her afterwards, I didn't say anything, but I always had this smug look on my face, this gleeful smile. Just kind of real petty about it. So even when it comes to dating, right, that's a perfect example. Follow your gut instinct. If your gut instinct is telling you that your partner is cheating, maybe there's something to it. If your gut instinct is telling you to move away from where you're from or cut off a certain person in your life or maybe even a career change, maybe there's a reason why you're feeling the way you are. And the reason why you know it's a gut feeling is that you don't necessarily need logic or reasoning. You know, it's not something you need to logically break down or think about. It's just something you feel that you know to be right. And it's not something you necessarily feel nervous or anxious about, but it's like you feel pulled in a certain direction. And almost every single time you make that decision to follow your gut instinct, that feeling is almost always followed up with relief or clarity. And the thing about it is that every single person has a gut instinct. It's just that not everybody has the courage to follow through with it. And this is how a lot of people end up becoming followers in life, is because you need that external validation to make choices in your life. You know, where you're always second guessing or you're always doubting yourself. And this is where the importance of self-belief comes into play. Like, a lot of people make this mistake of thinking that self-belief is something you can think your way into. When in reality, self-belief is like this muscle that you always have to work on. You always have to keep your word to yourself. Like, if you say that you're going to do something, you better see it all the way through. And through that repetition of proving that to yourself, proving yourself right each and every single time, by doing exactly what you said you were going to do, by keeping that promise to yourself, that's when your self-belief grows stronger. And it's like, it's not going to be a straight line path. You're going to doubt yourself. You're going to waver. Fear is going to creep in, just like with anything in life. Like, it's never going to be the case where you have no doubt and you have no fear and you're 100% sure as to what you're going to do. But it's about doing that regardless. It's about taking that first step regardless. So when you become a person that boldly steps forward, it's like your self-belief, it becomes like your power level. Like, there wouldn't be any need for self-belief if there was no resistance, if there was no pushback, if there were no obstacles. The whole premise of self-belief itself is predicated on the uncertainty of that situation, but you have that belief in yourself, that you're capable of doing whatever it is regardless of whatever challenges or obstacles that might come your way. Like, there's a reason why unrelenting self-belief makes people feel uncomfortable, why people want to tear that person down that has that self-belief. It's because not a lot of people have it, and it's like a mirror that reflects on their own shortcomings. It's a mirror that reflects all the doubts and all the fears and all the worries and all the uncertainties in their own life. And it's like, you need that self-belief not only to trust your gut instinct, but to follow it and see it all the way through, whatever action you might take. And everything that I'm saying in this video is just founded upon the belief that deep down inside, you know the answer to most of your problems. Like, all the significant life situations that you're going through, whether you're fat, out of shape, depressed, no money, no girlfriend, like, you know the answer to most of these problems if you're being honest with yourself. You know exactly when you have to stop eating junk food, stop drinking soda, stop playing video games, approach that girl, go for that job. Like, you know the answer. You gotta trust your gut instinct and believe in yourself, because 99% of the time, it's going to be right. Your gut instinct is never going to tell you to rob a bank or to go gamble. Deep down inside, you know the answer. We all know the answer. You just have to have the courage to take that step forward. And yeah, with that said, make sure you guys stay true. Talk to you guys real soon. If you guys want to see more content, check out the Patreon, follow the IG. If you want to talk to me one-on-one, feel free to book a call. Talk to you guys real soon, and I'll see you at the top. Peace.